chat. Little lady talk to us. There she is. Okay, and I'm going to start here. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. Can you see the welcome slide with the bright orange, nice and subtle coral branding? Okay. Perfect. So welcome everyone, and for those of you who are joining and catching up on this recording later on, it's an absolute pleasure to have you all with me today to talk about the concept of coaching and what it is. So I do these masterclasses, try and do one of these masterclasses every month, so do keep your eyes peeled for further masterclasses as they become sort of available to you, because I think it's really important you get a bit of a feel about what coaching is all about by going through some of the conversations and tools and exercises that we might use, but also getting to know me a little bit. So hopefully this is a nice opportunity for us to say hello from that perspective as well. So on that then, just a really big hello from me. So for those of you who I haven't met, and for anyone who's catching up on this recording later on, I'm Jo Jackson. I am a real sun worshipper. I'm partial to a delicate Provence rosé. I'm a proud Auntie JJ to two really cute little poppets, my brother's two little children, and I am absolutely passionate about all things people and making sure that we're maximising people's potential, helping people realise what it is that they want from their lives and so on. So I came to be here because I built my career over 15 years working in some of the biggest corporates, the biggest multinational organisations in the world, and working with some of the UK's biggest retailers. So my background is actually a corporate commercial background, doing business to business sales of products like Kenco coffee, Philadelphia cheese, Dolmio sauces, and so on and so forth. So really, really big in terms of that space around sort of corporate commercial experience. And then it was a couple of years ago that I had what I call my pivotal moment. So it felt like my world kind of landed in on me a little bit. So not only did we have the pandemic to deal with, there was also a significant restructure at work. So lots of change from my career point of view, having really climbed that corporate pole of getting up to sort of commercial customer director level type roles. Really, all of a sudden, I had a wobble, huge wobble in terms of my confidence, huge wobble in terms of actually, do I want to do this? Then also I got divorced and my husband left, got divorced, the pandemic hit. And you know, when you just have those moments of proper rock bottom and think, holy moly, how am I going to get out of this? Well, that was my moment a couple of years ago. And at that point in time, I worked with a coach. So I had the absolute privilege of working with a coach. And it was at that point that I realized truly that this is such a game-changing tool to be able to have a conversation that is totally dedicated to you, to work out truly what is it that's going to help you to get back on your feet. So I worked with a coach and realized that actually, you know, my passion is people, and really that's why I have retrained. So I'm now a qualified executive coach to an ILM level 7 diploma level. And I'm also a senior practitioner with the EMCC. So the EMCC is the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. And to be part of their organisation, to have an accreditation with them, you have to demonstrate to them that you've done a certain number of hours of coaching, that you are active in your professional development, that you're committed to developing the coaching sort of arena, if you like, and that you're having a positive impact out there in the world of coaching. So I'm really, really proud to be a senior practitioner with the EMCC, but it all stemmed from my own coaching experience. So a couple of the ladies who are on the call today have said, oh, it's almost like you can hear inside my voice with some of the things that you put out there on LinkedIn or on Instagram. And the reason for that is because I've been in your position a number of times. So, you know, I really feel as though this is my niche, and I really hope that I can work with a number of you to help you to find those areas that are really optimistic, really future focused for you, to give you the best possible, you know, next step in your careers, in your lives, in your professional lives, whatever way it wants to be. So I've been a line manager of many, I've delivered loads of results, but really my passion has always been around people. And, you know, I felt stuck, I felt lost, I felt unsure about what's next. And I suffered from anxiety. I've really felt as though I didn't know which way to turn. I've also, you know, really wondered about actually, what is my purpose? What am I trying to achieve with my life? What do I want from my career? What do I want from the next step? You know, as I look into the future, what do I want that to look like? So what I've done is I've been able to redefine what success looks like to me. So where previously it might have been the job level, the salary, the car, the house, the number of holidays a year and all those sorts of things, actually through working with my coach, I've redefined what success means to me. And success to me means things like balance. It means helping people to realize their potential. When you start thinking about how you want to redefine success on your terms, all of a sudden those pressure points just lift, and you can find a way of being really comfortable, content, satisfied in your own existence. So I'm no longer selling my soul. I'm no longer working, feeling like tethered to my laptop. What I am doing is working in service of helping as many people as I can to realize their potential and find happiness on their terms. So that's a little bit about me. I've spoken to the ladies on the call already about what they're hoping to get out of today. But if you're looking at this conversation as a recording, just have a little think about what is it you're hoping to get out of today's conversation. Make sure that you're thinking about what is it you're trying to achieve from this brief conversation about what is coaching, so that we can make sure that we're delivering those. And if you do have any follow-up questions or queries, please do not hesitate to get in touch. My details are at the end of the presentation, or you can direct message me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Okay, so let's get into it. What is coaching? So this is Sir John Whitmore. Sir John Whitmore is effectively the godfather of coaching. His message around, or definition, if you like, of what coaching is that coaching is unlocking people's potential to maximize their performance. It's helping them to learn rather than teaching them. And there's a really important distinction there that I just want to call out to you. The first thing is this piece around unlocking people's potential. That is something that I'm hugely passionate about. And as a coach, as an executive coach, I truly believe that every single one of us has within us everything we need to achieve whatever it is that we put our minds to. So this is about unlocking what's already there. This isn't about fixing you. This isn't about teaching you things. It's about helping you to unlock that potential that's already within you. Sometimes when we are in busy lives, in busy work lives, in busy personal lives, we can feel very much like up against the wall. We can feel as if we don't have any perspective. We don't really know how to move things forwards. And that truly is one of the benefits of a coaching conversation. You can get that perspective. You can have that person to help you to work out exactly what it is that you want to do next. Help you to really process those things that maybe it's quite hard to process in the moment on your own. The second thing that's really important about this description, this definition, is that it's about helping people to learn rather than teaching them. I'm going to come on in a second about the difference between coaching, counselling and mentoring, but really the premise of coaching is that it's helping you to learn on your own terms. It's helping you to work stuff out in your own mind to your own benefit. This is not about me standing here as a teacher or as a mentor telling you things from my own personal experience. It's about helping you to work it out on your own. So coaching is a relatively new approach. It's relatively new in terms of its approach, and it's really taking off in terms of its amount of awareness and its popularity. We know that a number of organizations now are much more moving away from kind of like a directive, lead team leading the organization through into more of a coaching and organizational led model. And that's because coaching really does encourage people to sort of maximize who they are. It encourages them to realize their potential. It encourages you to think in a really, really different way. So in real terms, coaching is an equal partnership. You very much get out of coaching what it is that you choose to put into it. So as coach and as coachee, we come together as equals to make sure that we're maximizing that impact for you. It's a shared space and it's a safe space for you to be able to explore various different things, whether that's challenges, obstacles, niggles, working out how you're going to take things from good to great. And it is such a powerful self-reflection tool. There is so much stuff that goes on in our subconscious minds that we don't know anything about, hence it being subconscious. If someone was to say to you, what are your values? What are the things that truly make you tick? What has to be present in your life to make sure that you're happy? I think a number of us would be really stumped by that question. But when we get into a coaching conversation, we get into that next level of consciousness. We go below the surface and really help you to unpick some stuff, to work out who you are, like deep down in there. Our values, our beliefs, our drivers, all of these things, they're things that we've been brought up with. They're things that are intrinsic to us. And if you imagine an iceberg, They're the things that are below the surface. We don't really ever think about them. We're very rarely aware of them or cognizant of them. That's where we operate in the coaching space. We're getting underneath the waterline on the iceberg. What that does is it helps us to work out, why do we behave in a certain way? Why do we perceive things in a certain way? Why do we react in a certain way? And that will then also help us to work out, how do we want to move things forwards for ourselves? So it's a really powerful self-reflection tool. It's an incredible personal development tool. I'm so passionate about it. It's been an absolute game changer for me and so many of my clients as they've been approaching the coaching conversation. So the other thing just to mention is that it's a confidential and safe space for you to explore those things that are on your mind. And it's an opportunity for you to delve deeper into your consciousness, as I've just talked about, really going below the surface. Laura, hi, good to have you with us. It's a way for you to understand yourself in a way that you've never experienced before. And it's a really powerful mixture of deep conversation, powerful questions, and I'll come on to talk to you about that in a little bit more detail in a second, and some practical exercises. So, you know, there will be opportunities for you to explore things using tools and exercises depending on which ones are relevant at the time, and I'll be able to help guide those conversations. Coaching is really action and outcome focused. It's really thinking about, how can you take things forward? What solutions do you want to create for yourself? And specifically, what actions are you going to take? What are the areas that you want to focus on moving forwards? And it's up to you to do that. It's up to you to choose those, make those choices for you. Coaching is also a really appropriate blend of support and challenge. So I'm a real feeler, I'm an empath, I care. But when I see the BS, I am going to call it out. I'm going to hold you to account on some of those things. I'm going to hold up that mirror that I'll come on to talk to you about in a second, that will help you to really reflect in a way that's truly different for you. And critically, coaching is bespoke. It is entirely unique to you. Your experience of coaching will be different from someone else's experience of coaching, because what we do is we work focused solely on your goal. What is it you want to try and achieve? That could be a macro goal. What do I want to do with my life? That could be a more micro goal. How do I improve my impact as I get promoted? Really thinking about all the different types of ways we can go about that, working on that deep-rooted self-understanding, self-awareness, in that deeper level of self-consciousness to deliver against those goals that you're setting for yourself. So anything is possible when you're thinking about achieving something through the power of coaching. I mentioned a second ago that there are some similarities and some differences between the idea of sort of counselling or therapy on one end of the spectrum and mentoring on the other end of the spectrum, with coaching kind of in the middle a little bit. Now, counselling and therapy are things that people are maybe a bit more aware of. They've been around for a bit longer, and so you might be more familiar with those concepts, those ideas. Mentoring as well, if you've worked in an organisation, you may well have had a mentor, someone more senior than you, more experienced than you, who's helped you through some particular scenarios. So I just want to explain to you a little bit about the similarities, but mainly the differences between coaching, mentoring and counselling, just to help you to pinpoint actually which one of these is most useful for you if you're thinking about working on you and maximising your potential. So first things first, let's have a look at counselling. So counselling is often, or therapy is often, a sort of retrospective view. Often we go back into maybe some of that trauma, some of those situations that have happened that have, you know, knocked you a little bit, driven some anxiety, driven some upset in your life in some way. Often the counsellor or the therapist works with you to diagnose what's going on. So they use all of their experience, all of their learning, all of their understanding to help you collectively diagnose what's going on. But it's very focused in on almost the things that happened either in the past or in the recent or the further past. The relationship, or the length of the relationship, can vary with a counsellor or therapist. Some people have, you know, 6 conversations and that's it, job done, and they feel like they've processed the emotion, the trauma. Some people have, you know, therapy ongoing. So the length of the relationship can really vary. The counsellor doesn't need any prior knowledge of you, of your world, of your life, of your industry or your career or anything like that. They're very focused in on the person that turns up in front of them there and then. You are the one that's doing the work here, really thinking about the questions that the therapist or the counsellor is raising with you. So they don't need to know or understand or have a perspective on what it is that's going on, because what they're trying to do is be in your world with you. On the other end of the spectrum, we've got mentoring. So mentoring is very solution focused. So this is very much, you've got a problem, you've got a scenario that's come up and you need to solve that problem. It's making sure that you're really thinking about how can you get to a really good solution. Based on that, therefore, a mentoring is very much focused on that action plan. So it's an action plan centric approach. Okay, this is the problem, this is the solution we need to look at, how are we going to make it happen? The critical thing with mentoring is that I, the mentor, share my experience with you. And therefore, it's required that I have extensive prior knowledge. So, for example, as a senior person in the team, you may well mentor someone that's more junior. You'll have experienced the same challenges, the same dynamics. You'll understand the market or the industry trends. Therefore, I pass on my knowledge. I pass on my experience to you. It's therefore much more directive in its approach. And the best mentor-mentee relationships are actually really long-term relationships, those relationships that last over numerous years across people's career. Coaching sits somewhere in the middle between these two things. So coaching, very much future-focused. So we look at the here and now, we look at the person you are today, and we think, right, okay, where do you want to get to? We don't really diagnose, we don't really look retrospectively, we really focus in, okay, who is that person that's turning up today and where do you want to get to? It's very action plan centric. So rather than the diagnostic and the reflection, it's very much like, okay, cool, we know where we want to get to, how are we going to do that? So if you're looking to create a plan, if you're looking to try and understand the steps that you might take, coaching is very much helpful to do that. Like I mentioned earlier, you find the answers. So coaching is all about the coach, me, helping you to find the answers that are right for you. The premise of coaching is that you know what you need inside of you. You just need someone to help you unlock it. And that's where coaching is quite different from both counselling and mentoring. This is all about someone supporting you, facilitating you to work stuff out in the way that works best for you. And to do that, we use really powerful questions and some specific tools and exercises as appropriate to help you to work this stuff out for yourself. What that means is that as your coach, I don't need to know anything about your career, the industry you work in, the market trends that you're operating within, the relationships that you're having to deal with both professionally and personally. I'm focused solely on you. So what's really important is I understand you. I put myself in your world. I try and help to understand your world and then help you to process it, to try and find those solutions that are right for you moving forwards. So, my world, the sort of arena that I've created my career in is the fast-moving consumer goods sector, so retail, effectively. If, however, you were an engineer or if you were someone who works in PR, all of those things are absolutely fine for me to support you in, because I don't need to understand the dynamics of the market or the environment that you're operating within. Just like I don't need to know what your husband's dynamics are like, or how well you get on with your family. All of that stuff is really important, but we'll deal with it based on how you respond to those things. I don't need to necessarily understand the specifics of the context. And the coaching relationship is a short to medium term relationship, whereas a mentor is much more of a long-term relationship. A coaching relationship is often more short to medium term. So somewhere between the 6 to 12 month mark, really focusing on those pivotal moments in your life, helping you to unlock some stuff, work some stuff out, and then go forwards. Now, that doesn't mean you don't then come back in 2 or 3 years' time. I've worked with a coach a number of times over my career, and every couple of years, sometimes you just need a little bit of a reset button. That's totally cool. That's totally to be expected. But what coaching is very rarely is this ongoing relationship every week, every month, and so on. So coaching, future focused, action plan focused, really making sure you're holding yourself accountable to move things forward. You find the answers through powerful questions, through the use of really great tools and techniques to help you to do that. And you decide how you want to take things forward in a way that works for you. So some critical things that would really help you to know about coaching and what you can expect from the world of coaching. So top left, I've already mentioned this a couple of times. Coaching is very much a question-focused type conversation. So I am trained in asking powerful questions. I'm trained in asking those questions that maybe you haven't asked yourself, or maybe those questions that you don't want to ask yourself. Okay, so imagine you've got a number of different doors that you're trying to work out which path you want to take. It might well be that we're keeping one door locked. Well, I'm going to try and find the key to that door, because that may well be the one that we need to have a look at. I'll do it in a safe, empathetic, supportive and caring way. But the power of having a coaching conversation is that you are safe in that environment, but we explore the stuff that either you've overlooked or that you don't necessarily want to go to because it's a bit scary or a bit daunting. You have me as a coach to help you to approach that. What I should just say is that if there are things that are absolutely off the cards, I will totally respect that. If there are things or times when you need to say, Joe, back off, that's absolutely fine. No problem at all. We are in service of totally and utterly working with you to work out how we can maximize the impact for you and help you to unlock your potential and happiness on your own terms. The second thing, sort of top right there, is this idea of being a mirror or a sounding board. So I'll hold up a mirror to help you to see things in a slightly different way. So there might be some stuff that you're carrying around in your head where you're seeing it in a really negative way. I might try and help you to work out how you can see it in a more positive way. So for example, I had a coaching client this morning and I asked her what some of her strengths were. And she said, oh, competitive, but that's not really a strength, that's a negative thing. Well, competitive can be a strength. And I asked her to reframe that and work out what the benefit of being competitive was. Her answer, it helps me achieve more and it drives me forwards. So think about those things that you carry about yourself, that what the inner voice is saying to you about yourself that you might perceive to be negative or self-critical. I'm going to try and help you to reframe that in a positive way. I'm also going to try and shine the light on some of those areas that you've overlooked. So there might be some little dark recesses that you've overlooked. And I'm going to encourage you to think about things in a different way. Think about different solutions, different outcomes, different potential routes forward that you could choose. And I'm going to encourage you to have a full and frank reflection, really holding up that mirror, a bit like you do in the hairdressers, to see all the different angles of yourself and what it is that you're dealing with. It's by doing that we can get into that deeper level of self-understanding. It's by doing that in a safe, supportive way, you can make some choices to take your life forward in a way that works best for you. Bottom left, the priority around coaching is that it's an equal partnership. You get into this as much as you get out of this as much as you put into it. This is not about you turning up and me giving you an exercise to do and then we talk about it. This is about having a full and frank, open conversation. So this is about you having the time to commit to the coaching conversation. This is about protecting the space for yourself to have a really frank conversation. How can you have these conversations when you're at home, for example? How can you make sure you've got a comfy space to be where you won't have any distractions? How can you make sure you're protecting that time for yourself to invest in yourself and in that conversation, bringing your whole self to the conversation to maximize the benefit of having this coaching partnership? And then last but not least, confidentiality. Everything we talk about in a coaching conversation is entirely 100% confidential. The only reason why that would change is if for some reason I believe that you are at risk of harm. And I have therefore a duty of care to flag that to you, but also to any other appropriate requirements. But everything we talk about is entirely confidential to you. Okay, so how does the coaching program work? I have various different coaching programs that are available, but this is the standard, this is the most popular coaching program. So let me just talk you through the details of it, just to give you a flavour of how this might work for you. So the first things first, if you're thinking that coaching could be a thing that you want to explore and you want to know some more about, the first thing I ask you to do is jump on a free 30-minute discovery call with me. The discovery call is really focused on a number of different things. The first thing is we need to work out if we fit. Do we connect right? And I really encourage you, if you're thinking about having coaching, please make sure that you find someone that you really connect with. Someone that makes you feel understood and heard, someone that you feel you can talk to, someone that you feel safe and comfortable with. You know, the coaching conversation can be quite a vulnerable, emotionally charged space. The number of people who cry on me, you wouldn't believe, and that's good because I'm a crier myself. But make sure you're finding a coach that you feel really, really comfortable with. That's super, super important. And that's one of the most critical elements of having that 30-minute discovery call. Working out whether or not you feel as though you gel with someone is so critical. It's also really important for me to understand a bit more about what you're trying to achieve. You know, is coaching right for you? Is where you are now and what you're trying to get to, is that feasible for a coaching conversation? Or is it more likely that having some counselling or finding a mentor might be better for you? Are there some other development tools which might help you over and above coaching? So this is just as much finding your fit as it is about making sure that coaching is the right outcome for you. And then also having the opportunity to ask any questions. So any of those questions around practicalities, how does it work, all that sort of stuff, this is your opportunity to ask those questions, and no question is a silly question. Once you've decided to go ahead and you are up for the coaching conversation, we'll determine all the different practicalities about where we'll meet and all those sorts of things. But what I'll ask you to do is to complete a pre-coaching questionnaire. So this questionnaire is a sort of self-diagnostic tool. It's quite meaty, so if you do have a pre-coaching questionnaire, do take some time to complete it. You know, find yourself a bit of calm to be able to complete it. And it's really the first opportunity for you to start that self-reflection journey. Get into a place where you are starting to get into that deeper level of self-understanding and reflection. It's an opportunity for me as well to understand your world in a bit more detail. So what I ask you to do is to send that back to me 10 days before our first coaching conversation. I read that through 2 or 3 times. I start thinking about putting myself in your world, trying to understand the world through your pair of eyes, really understanding what it is that makes you tick, maybe some of the themes that I'm spotting with some of your answers. It helps me to really get into your world. In that first conversation then, conversation number 1, we start with that pre-coaching questionnaire. So what I ask you to do is come with your reflections from completing that questionnaire. It might be that you found it really difficult. It's really bloody hard to complete. What does that tell you? Or it was really easy to complete, but I felt like I was repeating myself a lot. That's a common thread that comes through in some of my clients' reflections. It might be that the questions that I've asked about your professional life were really hard to answer, but the ones about your personal life were a lot easier to answer. It might be there were some themes that you spotted that you captured through the different answers that you've created to those questions. All of this is rich self-understanding, and we'll explore each of those in a bit more detail. Once you've shared your reflections, I will then share my reflections of reading your questionnaire. And I'll ask any of those clarifying questions. So effectively, we're starting that coaching conversation, really getting you to think about some of those things that you might have put on your questionnaire that help us to bring a picture together of who you are and getting under the skin, under the surface of some of that thinking. In our first conversation as well, one of the critical things we'll do is refine down and define specifically what your goals are of your coaching program. As I mentioned earlier, your goals could be a macro goal. What am I going to do with my 40s? That's one of my current coaching clients' goals. What am I going to do in my 40s? What am I going to achieve in my 40s? It might be that you want to think about something a bit more specific. How am I going to improve my impact when I get promoted next month? Okay, so really thinking about those different sort of scale of goals. And what I'll do is I'll coach you to create a really powerful goal so that you can know that that's our North Star. That's what we're shooting for. If you remember, coaching is very action, future focused. So in that first conversation, we'll really refine down specifically what that goal is that you're aiming towards. And then depending on how the conversation's going and how much time we have left, we'll start into your coaching, sort of, you know, the free coaching as we go. What I mean by free coaching is I'll start the conversation off thinking about, you know, getting you to think about things in a different way. We might use some tools, we might use some exercises in that first coaching conversation, but it really depends on what your goal is that you're trying to work towards. As we close each conversation, I'll ask you to reflect. What is it you've taken away from today's conversation? What is it that you're going to play with, practice with, take forward into your real life after the conversation to make sure that you're putting in some plans and some next steps that you can apply as you go forwards. Conversations 2 to 5 are bespoke. It really depends where you're at. It might well be that we really focus in on something specific that came out of conversation 1 in service of your goal. It might be that we have a really good conversation about that, or it might be that I introduce you to some tools or techniques that help you to construct some of your thinking. It might be that you've had a curveball the week before that you really want to talk about. It's still helpful in terms of delivering your goal, but it's really something that's really, pressing and immediate. We can talk about that there and then, no problem at all. We can work out what coping mechanisms, what tools, what techniques you might use to approach the situation as you're in it in that moment in time. So totally bespoke to you, and we'll use a mixture of tools and exercises and appropriate questions to help you to unpick those scenarios, those situations, that level of thinking that's going to be really helpful to you. And then again, after each of those conversations, I'm going to ask you to make your commitments to action. What have you reflected on from the conversation, and what are you committing to doing before next time's conversation? We then start there next time and say, okay, what have you reflected on since last time? What's changed? What did you try? What's different? What do you want to then take forwards, and so on? So it's a really iterative process, totally and utterly led by you, bespoke to you, unique to whatever it is that you're trying to deliver against. And then conversation 6 is very much that final coaching conversation, but it's also a wrap up. We reflect on the last conversations that you've had. We talk about the things that you've taken forward, what's worked well for you, what you want to practice more of. What is it that you're going to put in place? What choices are you making to make sure that you're maximizing your fulfillment and happiness on your own terms? And then critically, we'll be creating that action plan. What are you going to do in the next week, the next month, the next 3 months, the next year? What are those things that you're going to hold yourself to? And you'll be able to hold yourself accountable to those things to make sure you're truly making a change. Yeah, we can have these really powerful conversations, but unless we actually do something with them, there's no point. So yeah, really making sure that we are prioritizing making that change. Just going to pause there and just check, are there any questions from the ladies who are on the call? Feel free to jump off mute if you have got a question before I go into a little bit more about practicalities.
All good, thanks, Jo. I'm just here to say hello, because when you said hi earlier, I was sort of waving at the screen.
Yeah, no worries, Laura. Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
Nothing from me, but just to clarify, I'm still here.
Okay, perfect. No, that's all good. That's great. Okay, so that's how the coaching program works in terms of the number of sessions and those sorts of things. In terms of practicalities, first things first, from a calendar point of view, I recommend a coaching conversation happens sort of every 3 to 4 weeks. Now, again, this is your coaching program. We can make it work however works best for you. It might be that you're at a real moment in your life where you're like, I just need to see you every couple of weeks because I want to get this sorted. I'm under pressure. That's fine. It might be that you're thinking, okay, what's the longer term plan for me? In which case you might want some more time to reflect. And, you then might say, can we actually catch up every 4 to 5 weeks? We can totally make this work for you in the best way that serves you and your goals and how it best suits you. But generally, every 3 to 4 weeks is what I would recommend for the regularity of a coaching conversation. In terms of the length of each of the conversations, I strongly recommend a 90-minute conversation. So going back to the point I made earlier about making sure you're kind of in the right zone for these conversations, making sure, what time of the day, what time of the week is best for you. Have you got childcare covered? Can you work from home that day? All of those things are really important for you to consider to make sure you've got that block of time that's going to be suitable for you to feel really comfortable to open up, to really work out, getting into these conversations can be quite deep-rooted stuff. So having 90 minutes is a lovely amount of time to be able to do that. And also, it's a commitment from you in yourself, which is super, super important. So normally 90 minutes, we can do 60-minute conversations, but they can be a little bit short. So depending on what the types of conversations are that you want to have, probably a 90-minute conversation would be best. And then I normally run all of my coaching conversations on Zoom. So you can be curled up in your joggers with your blanket on in front of the log burner and having a conversation with me on Zoom. That's absolutely perfect because that is in your most relaxed and natural state. So there's some practicalities. How it works is that once we've agreed that you want to start your coaching program, we'll then look at the diary, and at that point in time, we'll work out what times are mutually suitable for both of us. I'll give you a few options, and then I'll bang the little Zoom link in your diary, and all you have to do is click on it like you have today, and you can join me at the appropriate time. If you do need to change anything, I completely understand that life can get in the way. All I ask for is sort of 24 to 48 hours notice so that I can rejig things and give it to other clients if needs be. So that's a bit about what coaching is. It's a bit about how it works and the practicalities, what you might cover in all of the different conversations. What I should just say is that other coaches might operate slightly differently. So where I operate quite a bespoke, unique, almost like a free coaching style, which is very focused on you, and it's a conversational coaching style. Some coaches might have almost a program that they follow, whereby in week 1 you do this, and week 2 you do this, and so on. What's really important is you work out what the right way is for you. The benefit of free coaching is that we can be bespoke and we can go wherever it suits you next. You know, it entirely depends on how best you learn, how best you reflect, what makes you feel more comfortable. So if you are approaching or thinking about having coaching, just think about the best way for you and what might suit you most. All right, so why might you come to coaching in the first place? A quick myth bust for you on why you might come to coaching. So some people seem to think that you need to come to coaching because you need fixing. That is simply not the case. So you don't need to be fixed. None of us needs to be fixed. I have a fundamental belief that we all have within us what we need. We just might need some help to find it. So if none of us is broken, none of us needs fixing. We have all those answers we need inside of ourselves. It's just about working out how we can unpick them. What you might come to coaching feeling though is feeling lost or stuck. That is definitely one avenue, and it's quite a significant avenue of people who come, clients who come for coaching. But it's also just as relevant for those people who are feeling, you know, they've just been promoted, they're feeling good, life's great, I'm feeling on top of things, but I want to push it to the next level. So it's not just about solving a problem or feeling like you want to be fixed. It can also be a really powerful development tool if you're feeling like you want to take yourself from good to great, or you want to push yourself further in some way in your professional or your personal life. So first things first, it's not about being fixed. However, how might you be feeling? Why might coaching be something that is right for you? So many of my clients come to me and they say, I don't really know why I'm here. I just felt like I needed to talk to you. That is absolutely where so many of us start. Often we have a niggle. We have a bit of a, something's not quite right. We have that sense of, I've lost my mojo, or I'm not feeling very motivated anymore. Or maybe it's a bit like, oh, I'm not quite sure I want to do this anymore. Maybe you feel like you've lost your sense of direction. You might be thinking, what's next? I mentioned earlier, one of my clients at the moment, she's approaching her 40th birthday and she's a bit like, oh, this feels like a big moment in my life. I'm not quite sure I'm ready for it. What do I want from my 40s? So this sense of like, what is next? What do I want from my life? It might be that you're feeling unfulfilled. You know, you might be looking at life thinking, on paper, I've got everything I need, but there's just something that's missing. And I don't know what that is. It could be that you're at a life-changing moment. It could be you're about to go off on mat leave, or you're just coming back from mat leave. It might be that you've taken over the care of a relative. It might be that you've just got divorced or you've just got married. It might be that you are up for a promotion or you've just been made redundant. There are so many things that can knock us at any point in our lives. It might be that your children are just leaving home and you're thinking, oh, you know, what used to fill my time isn't there as much anymore. So how am I going to take things forwards? I really truly believe that we all have these cyclical moments in our lives when things change and we sort of stand at these crossroads and think, oh, now what? That's when coaching comes in. That's when it really helps us to take a step back, get some perspective and try and work out what it is that we want to do next. So you might have just been made redundant, you might have just been promoted. It might be that you used to feel really motivated and you were buzzing. Now you feel like you're plodding a bit, or life feels a little bit grey. Maybe you feel like your emotions are taking over and you're not quite sure why that is. Or maybe you're starting to realise that you feel a bit stuck. You used to be a real go-getter. You used to feel like you were achieving loads, and now you just feel like you're not really getting anywhere. It might be that you are facing a difficult circumstance. You might have noticed that you're constantly at the end of your tether. You're really impatient, or you're feeling frustrated all the time. It might be that you want to work on your confidence or your courage. It might be that you've got imposter syndrome and that inner critic is constantly undermining you and what you stand for. You might want to improve your impact, your gravitas. You might want to work on your presentation skills. You might want to, build your resilience. You might be feeling like you're about to burn out and you just need to work out how you can, save yourself from that. You might want to work out how to build courage in your team. You might want to think about how you want to be an even better line manager. You might be at a career moment thinking, actually, what do I want from my career next? You might be considering a complete life change, but you're not quite sure how to make those decisions. It might be that you're a senior leader and you need a sounding board. You're looking for that person who is completely impartial, who can be totally in your world, helping you to work some stuff out. At the end of the day, it's really lonely at the top. So there are so many reasons why coaching could be something that's useful for you. That is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. We can go anywhere in a coaching conversation. We can go professional, we can go personal, we can go life coaching, we can go relationship coaching. Anything is possible in a coaching conversation. All that needs to happen is that you need to be clear what it is you want to talk about. And if you're not clear, we can work that out in our first conversation. Even if you come to me and say something's a bit off, that's cool. Let's work it out together. But you have to be committed to the idea of having those conversations and taking it forwards. Coaching is so versatile and completely bespoke to you. And what's really important is that you'll have the opportunity to work with me to explore this stuff in a way that makes sense for you. At the end of the day, this is all about unlocking your potential and helping you to realize fulfillment on your terms. So if you think, oh yeah, she hasn't mentioned this specific thing that's going around my head, drop me a DM, drop me an email, we can jump on a discovery call, we can have that conversation and work out whether coaching is the right thing for you. Then last but not least, what will you get from coaching? So what is the benefit to you of coaching? And I've put on here a sunrise picture because this is how it feels. Sometimes if you come and you feel like you're having those dark days, or you're feeling a bit stuck, there's nothing more uplifting and inspiring than the idea of feeling like it is possible. So what will you get from coaching? The first thing you'll get is that understanding of yourself on a deeper level. I've talked about this fact that we carry all these things underneath the surface that often we don't even realize about ourselves. That's the stuff that we delve into. I promise you there will be stuff that you learn about yourself that blows your mind. And it will make so much more sense. Why are you getting tearful? Why are you feeling frustrated? You'll start to realize why those things are happening, and you'll be able to put plans in place to solve them. If you've got that niggle, you'll be able to work out what it is that truly will make you happy, that will help you to find contentment, and you'll be able to make the choices that put that in place. I promise you it's an absolute game changer. We'll talk about building your self-awareness, but also potentially looking at some of those blind spots as well, helping you to have that sort of 360 view of yourself to really help you to find the best version of you. We'll work out what makes you tick. We'll work out what values you hold, what's important to you. We'll help you work out how you can articulate what you need, whether that's professionally or personally, what boundaries you want to put in place to help you to thrive. Everything will be in support of delivering your goals. We'll work out why you react to certain things, why certain things trigger you, or why certain things give you an emotional response. I'll support you to prepare techniques that work for you to approach situations and relationships and challenges in a completely different way. You'll be able to have your own toolkit, techniques that will help you to maximize your happiness, your fulfillment, your contentment in a way that works for you. We can look at your limiting beliefs. We can uncover them, and then critically, we can find a way to overcome them. So that inner critic, that inner voice that's constantly saying, you're not good enough, you won't be able to achieve it, you don't deserve it, all of those horrible imposter syndrome type voices, we can unpick them and we can work out why you're thinking those things and how you can overcome those things, how you can then build your confidence to know that anything is possible. We'll also work on enhancing your emotional intelligence. So if you want to, we can look at emotions. We can look at emotions and how they interact with the relationships, working out how therefore that can benefit you as a leader and also as an individual. We'll be able to work out, ways to help you build and nurture and extend your relationships, both professionally and personally. Understand your emotions and how you can use them to your advantage. And then critically, you'll be able to leave with an action plan of what you want to do next. And you will have chosen it all. Everything will have been done by you in the supportive and caring environment of working with me. But you will make a choice about how you want to move things forwards. And then it's up to you. It's up to you to then make those choices and make those plans to help you to choose a life that is fulfilling and uplifting on your own terms. Critically, what you'll get from me is an accountability partner. You'll have that person that will hold that mirror up, that person who will ask you, how have you got on? That person who will ask you, what reflections have you got that you want to take forwards? But everything will be done in a supportive, encouraging and caring, compassionate way, but it'll be really focused on me helping you to work out what it is that you want from your life. So that's what you'll get from coaching. As I mentioned earlier, it's an absolute game changer. And I truly, if you know people who've had coaching, please do talk to them, because I bet they'll all say exactly the same. So that was everything I wanted to cover. If you want to get in touch to arrange a discovery call, my details are on the screen here, and you can use the QR code that will send you to your email app, and you can drop me a quick note to arrange a discovery call. But what we've discussed today is what is coaching, how does it work, the practicalities of coaching, and also maybe why you might come to coaching, but what you might also get from coaching. So I'm going to pause and just see if anyone on the call has got any questions. I'm going to take silence as a no.
Yeah, no questions from me.
No questions from you. Okay, perfect.
Yep, same here. I've just noted down your email, Jo. I think it's been really beneficial just sort of hearing you run through some of those things. You know, when you were talking about some of the examples, I was sort of nodding along.
Okay, good. And as I mentioned, you know, we can talk about anything. So if there is some stuff there that you think, oh, she hasn't mentioned that, do get in touch and let me know, and I'll let you know if that's something that we can work on together. All right, brilliant. Well, ladies, it's been a pleasure to have those of you on the call with me today who have joined. This has been recorded, so I'll send you out the link so you can catch up on it another time. But yeah, if you want to get in touch, feel free to do so. If not, follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram. I constantly share different news and updates and things like that. And I wish you all the very best. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll take care and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jo.
Lovely. Thanks, Jo. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.